favorite governor of California is at it again. How people support this guy and sing his praises, and even worse, want him to run for president and say he's defending our freedom and our democracy, quote unquote, is beyond me. It's baffling. Let's get into it. Last week, Governor Newsom proposed that elderly, disabled, and the poor citizens of California need to provide a $2,000 asset test to receive Medi-Cal insurance after bankrupting it because he was giving illegal immigrants health care coverage, costing the state $10 billion this year and $12 billion next year. It's gotten so bad that he's requesting a $3.4 billion loan just to cover the bills and expenses. Now, there's some exceptions to this $2,000 asset test. Your car, your first home, which most people don't even have their first home anymore. Your 401k is exempt unless you request to withdraw. Life insurance, cash, savings, all of those count. It even goes as far as saying some funeral plots count towards your asset. And $2,000 was the limit set in 1989. The average rent in California is over $2,700. So to ask people to stay under $2,000 is insane. Another thing to add is that Newsom is proposing that these illegal immigrants pay a $100 premium to keep their health insurance. $100 isn't even a fraction of what health insurance costs nowadays. Not to mention, they shouldn't even have it in the first place. And I know I'm going to get some hate for saying that. Usually the argument goes, well, you just want to let these people die. You just want to let them just suffer with a broken arm and not get the care. I hate that argument. It is so emotional and irrational. Of course not. If someone gets hurt, they deserve to get medical treatment and be taken care of. Of course, we're not going to let someone just die. We're not going to let a child just have a broken limb just because. They shouldn't even be here to begin with. That's the problem.
This is only the first of many loans that will have to be made as long as we continue to give free taxpayer-funded handouts for health care to illegal immigrants.
The Department of Finance has said that the state will pay an estimated $9.5 billion to provide Medi-Cal to undocumented immigrants, $8.4 billion of which comes from the state's general fund. Originally, the state had projected $6 billion would be needed.
It has now pushed the Medi-Cal system for the neediest Californians to the brink of bankruptcy. Medi-Cal officially is insolvent.
DeMaio is calling on the governor to immediately suspend the availability of Medi-Cal to undocumented immigrants.
We cannot afford it. We should not be providing it. We have needy Californians that are now being put at risk. Their health care coverage is now being put at risk. Governor Newsom would blame Mr. Magoo for this problem if he thought he could get away with it. He's a liar. He's mismanaged the program. He's put the health care of low-income families at risk in this state, and he needs to be held accountable.
It's like saying if someone broke into your home and they got hurt breaking into your home in your house, you're not only responsible for them getting hurt, you're also now responsible for the medical care afterwards. That sounds pretty crazy to me. That's irrational. It's ridiculous. But that's essentially what they're saying here. My wife used to work for Cover California. That's basically California's version of Obamacare, more or less. There were a lot of people who called in that were small business owners who ran into some hard times, working families who couldn't afford health insurance anymore because someone lost their job, got laid off, or again, came into some hard times because their business wasn't doing so well the last couple of years. And they were rejected because they made too much money, or it was still too high for them to afford, even with the government subsidy and help. And yet, you're giving health insurance to illegal immigrants who don't even pay into the system. It's insane. And these people are tax-paying, law-abiding citizens who can't even afford health insurance to take care of their own kids and their own family. And a lot of Democrats and liberals say, well, illegals do pay taxes. They pay tax, they pay sales tax. Well, one, sales tax is local. That's why tax in Los Angeles is 11%. But if you go to certain places in Sacramento, it varies from 8% to 8.75%, depending on what town, city, or suburb you're in, or county. But the argument of illegal immigrants paying sales tax has very little to do with Medi-Cal. Some rough numbers have come in. Illegal immigrants roughly pay $96.7 billion in taxes nationally. The federal government collects $5.48 trillion in total tax revenue. $96.7 billion. And the amount of illegal immigrants coming into this country, it's nothing. And I would argue they pay even less in California. Because if you look in just LA alone, they legalized these vendor stands. And a lot of these vendor stands, I mentioned in one of my previous videos, is stolen merchandise and stolen products. They don't have permits, licenses. They're not a registered company. Nothing. It's a free-for-all. So these people aren't paying taxes. Maybe they'll pay sales tax unless it's stolen merchandise. So I don't want to hear about illegal immigrants pay taxes into the system. It's a lie. And to throw some numbers into the mix of federal spending and state spending, Medi-Cal's total spending for fiscal year 2025 and 2026 is $188.1 billion. Last year, it was right around $154 billion. California contributed $42.1 billion. The federal government contributed $112.1 billion. So again, the 96.7 federally doesn't even cover the Medi-Cal expenses for California alone, much less the 50 states. And I'm going to end the video by saying, I think this is all done on purpose. I genuinely think it's all by design. Are there some Democrats and Democrat voters that are useful idiots that are voting with their heart and are completely irrational and emotional? Yes, 100%. But the leadership, people like Gavin Newsom, you can call him whatever you want. He's not an idiot. I would argue that he's conniving and in some ways an evil genius. This is all done on purpose. People talk about the great replacement theory. I think that factors in. I talked about this on a previous video regarding the LA riots. It's called the Curley effect. The Curley effect is essentially implementing policies that push out a certain type of voter or certain types of voters to galvanize another type of voter base to keep you in power. And it's also a form of divide and conquer. It uses things like ethnicity, gender, basically identity politics. If you'd like to know more about the Curley effect, I'll have a video linked at the end of this one. It covers the LA riots and how they were taxpayer funded. I didn't want to cover the LA riots, but I felt like I had to. And ironically, they didn't get any views or traction. But neither here nor there. If you want to know a little bit more about the Curley effect, it's about halfway through the video. I'll have it linked at the end. Like, comment, share this video, and possibly subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.